Hi guys.
Hello.
Hi. How are you? Monday.
Hey.
It's Monday morning for us. I drove 2 hours right now, and now I'm ready. Just came back. There's some background noise here. Okay. So today the plan is to just read and refresh our memory on T-cell lymphomas before we go into T-cell cases, because B-cell cases are very easy, right? The B-cell cases are, we all know, everyone knows about B-cell. B-cell is very, very easy, but T-cells are not very common, and T-cells need some brushing memory. So let's quickly brush our memory towards T-cell lymphomas before we dive into the cases, so that we are prepared for cases, and that makes more sense when we see the cases. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
Sure. Okay. So this is our book, the Ace the Boards, and this is a nutshell of T-cell lymphomas. Nutshell is basically, we have written the the high yield juice of particular topics in like 2 pages, and we are quickly going to go through the nutshell. We'll see if we can go through the chapters themselves, but first we'll try to see if we can go through Brentwood, and once we are gone through Brentwood, then we'll see how much time we have. We can use today, we can use tomorrow for this as well. Let's see how much time it takes for the T-cell lymphomas. All right, so I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's what I was coming to, that this is the nutshell, T-cell lymphoma nutshell. And so nutshell, I think it's just a 2-page nutshell, 3-page nutshell. So we'll quickly read this nutshell, and then we'll read the Brentwood book, and then let's see how much we are able to finish. So, okay. So T lymphoblastic leukemia lymphoma, mediastinal mass is most common. Adolescent males most commonly affected. TDT positive, cytoplasmic CD3 positive. That's a lineage specific for T lymphoblastic. CD7 is the more pan T cell marker. CD4, CD8 will be double positive or negative. So we saw that first. Let's see the T cell journey. So I come to this again and again, and came to this again. So basically the pro T cell CD34, and then cortical thymocyte CD8, CD10, and then after cortical thymocyte it becomes alpha beta or gamma delta. The alpha beta has double positive CD4, CD8, and admit, and then it becomes lineage specific, or CD4, CD8 T cell specific, and then these CD4 cells, they go ahead and make the T regulatory cells and the T follicular helper cells inside the follicle. And then these CD8 T cells, they go ahead and form the memory cells and the effector T cells. Apart from alpha beta, the gamma delta T cells are there, and the gamma delta, they form skin, mucosa, spleen, and peripheral blood. That's where they lie. And then the pro T cell, then they can directly give rise to an NK cell. So the CD7 is the pan T cell marker, will be present in all the T cell lineage unless it is down-regulated in the lymphomas. CD2 comes in the cortical thymocyte stage and goes until CD5, like CD2 and CD5 goes until the end. So first, there is cytoplasmic CD3 till the double positive cells, and then eventually the surface CD3 they come, and surface CD3 is expressed, and you start having surface CD3. Initially, there is a CD4, CD8 double positive cell, and then it becomes specific for CD4 or CD8. Till the cortical and double positive cell, there is a CD1A, and that's important here. And then for the T regulatory cells, the ATLL or adult T lymphocyte leukemia lymphoma is the one, and that's why FOXP3 and CD25, those are the markers that we have to remember for ATLL. And then the T follicular helper cells, the T follicular helper markers that we have to remember, and that's CD10, BCL6, ICOS, PD1, CXCL13, and those are the markers for angioimmunoblastic T cell lymphoma. So this is all that we already saw before. So coming to T LBL, 227 was it? Oh, 217. So we are going to nutshell directly, and 300, let's see, 300, okay. So T cell lymphomas here. So again, T lymphoblastic leukemia lymphoma, adolescent male mediastinal mass. So now we know that it is CD8 positive. There will be cytoplasmic CD3 in the early on stages. CD7, as we saw the pan T cell marker, early on the CD4, CD8 double positive, and or CD8 or CD4 positive comes. I'm muting someone. There is someone who is unmuted. Okay, yeah. So then variable CD2. So as we saw, the CD2 comes a little late. So variable CD2, surface CD3 that comes late as well. But that can be still there in the immature stage as well. CD5 that comes late as well. CD34 that can be lost initial phases. CD10, CD99, CD1A, and CD45. T cell receptor genes and IGH gene rearranged frequency, and higher risk disease than BALL, activating mutations in Notch1 genes. So over here, the important is ETP-ALL, and this is a phenotype that we should remember because the ETP-ALL has a bad prognosis. And we try to classify if there is a T lymphoblastic leukemia lymphoma, we try to classify if it is an early T cell precursor lymphoblastic leukemia lymphoma. And so the ETP-ALL, we should remember a few things. So first thing is CD1A will be negative, CD8 will be negative, and CD5 will be negative. So those three markers should be negative. If the CD5 is strong, then it will be more of near ETP-ALL rather than ETP-ALL. So remember that CD5 should be negative in order to call it ETP-ALL. So CD1A, CD8, CD5, these three things should be negative. There will be cytoplasmic CD3 and CD7. And then important thing is that one or more myeloid or stem cell markers can be there. So that's why there will be CD34, CD117, HLA-DR 13, 33, 11B, and CD65. 65 is not done by many institutes. I don't even know what 65 is for. So anyways, cytoplasmic CD3, CD7, one or more myeloid or stem cell markers, 34, 117, HLA-DR 13, 33, and 11B. Negative for CD1A, 8, and 5. And also MPO, of course, and then has a poorer prognosis than PALL. So that's why it is important in differentiating like whether it is a ETP-ALL. So that's that. Coming to T prolymphocytic leukemia, you have to remember that most of the T prolymphocytic leukemias, they are CD4 positive. So that's that. They are aggressive leukemias involving blood, bone marrow, liver, and spleen. There will be positive for the T cell antigens, so CD3, CD2, CD5, CD7. The important, like the specific antigens are CD52 and TCL1. So those are the more specific antigens. Most of the cases. Most of the cases will be CD4 positive, and few cases will be CD8 positive. However, CD4, CD8 double positive cases are also seen, and I think they are. If you see a CD4, CD8 double positive case, then think of T prolymphocytic leukemia, because that's where it happens most very often. Negative for TDT and CD1A. So we know that now it is in the pro-lymphocyte stage, the TDT is lost, CD1A is lost, so that's that. And in version 14, that's what we have to remember for pro-lymphocytic leukemia. So that's that. So again, T cell antigens, CD52, TCL1, and CD4 most often. And then it can be double positive, which will be more specific. Coming to TLGL. So TLGL is indolent, and we know that the TLGL, it has to have a certain amount of period. So it is the definition is that it has to be in 6 months, like it has to be persistent for 6 months. And the diagnostic criteria are like usually what it is seen is 2 into 20 into 10 power 9. That's the LGL count that should be seen. So that's the TLGL leukemia. So it's saying indolent T cell neoplasm of cytotoxic T lymphocytes associated with autoimmune diseases. So that's something that you have to remember with LGL, can be seen in rheumatoid arthritis. Then along with this, the most important thing is neutropenia, and the symptoms that come because of TLGL is because of neutropenia and anemia in the peripheral blood, most often neutropenia. So you'll start seeing infections and stuff like that. The TLGL will be positive for CD3, CD8, 16, 57. So 57 is more of the LGL cytotoxic marker, and other cytotoxic markers that will be TIA1, granzyme B, granzyme M will be there as well. And then, so these things, CD8 you have to remember, CD57 you have to remember, the other cytotoxic markers you have to remember. And it is TCR alpha beta, it's not the gamma delta, it's alpha beta type. Then the loss of expression. So loss or dim expression of 5 and 7 is very common. And negative for CD56, which is more of the NK cell marker. Clonal T cell receptor gene rearrangement, indolent disorder, but cases with STAT3 mutations are associated with treatment failure and more often symptomatic disease. Cases with STAT5B mutations have more aggressive course. So for our flow purposes, we have to remember these three things. First, that it is, of course, there will be CD3, so that's a lineage specific marker. The other important ones for LGL, CD8, CD57, the cytotoxic markers, TIA, granzyme B, granzyme M. There will be CD16, but there will not be CD56. And then the downregulation of 5 and 7, and it will be more of alpha beta TCR. Then coming to chronic lymphoproliferative disorders of NK, I don't think that we have a NK that Raji was saying, but I don't know which kind of NK she has. But again, NK will be more of cytoplasmic CD3 epsilon. CD16, 56 are the NK markers. KIR is again NK marker. Then the cytotoxic markers, TIA, granzyme B, granzyme M will also be the NK markers. So those are the the chronic LPD of NK cell is a provisional entity. We don't see a lot of cases of that. I personally haven't seen any case of chronic LPD of NK cells. Rare indolent disorder with persistent increase in the NK cells in the peripheral blood in the absence of underlying cause, more than 6 months, more than 2 into 10 power 9, no association with EBV. Now, why they say no association with EBV, we'll see that, because the aggressive NK cell leukemia, we have to remember that it has the EBV association. So that's where it becomes relevant, that the chronic LPD of NK is not associated with EBV. The aggressive NK will be associated with EBV. So aggressive NK is commonly seen in young Asians, strong association to EBV. It has similar immunophenotype as extranodal NK, but is frequently positive for 16 as well. So positive for CD2, cytoplasmic CD3 epsilon type, so that's specific for NK cells. And then 1656, as I said, are the cell NK markers, again the cytotoxic markers. 57 is more of LGL, so this is negative here in aggressive NK, and poor prognosis with the aggressive force. So that's aggressive NK. We are going very fast. We are just reading what it will be, and then we'll be diving into the Brentwood book quickly. just so that we know what we are expecting in a T cell before we see the T cell cases. So then adult T cell leukemia lymphoma, the markers that you have to remember for ATLL is CD25 specifically, and ATLL is CD4. So these two you definitely have to remember. Downregulation of CD7 you have to remember. So basically CD4, CD2, CD3, CD5, CD25, downregulation of CD7 and CD8 negative. And then clonal rearrangement of TCR will be there. So this ATLL is because of associated with HTLV infection, endemic in Japan, Caribbean, parts of Africa. Characteristic flower cells. So that's something that you have to remember, polylabated leukemic cells that are present in the ATLL. And variants acute lymphomatous, chronic, and smoldering. So this, for our purposes, for flow cytometry, you have to remember it is CD4, CD25, downregulation of 7, and negative for CD8. Then coming to extranodal NK cell, nasal type. So it's an aggressive lymphoma arising most commonly in the nasal sites, strongly associated with EBV again, with angiocentric, angiodestructive pattern. Asians and indigenous populations of Mexico, South and Central America affected most commonly. Positive for NK cells. So NK cells basically CD56 positive, surface CD3 will be negative. T cell markers can be there. So T cell will be CD56 can be negative and CD3 will be positive in these cases. And then there will be other NK markers. So cytoplasmic CD3 epsilon will be there. Cytotoxic markers can be there. So perforin, TIA, granzyme B. EBV, as we know that the external NK is EBV associated, so that will be there. CD45, CD43 can be there. So those NK and T cell markers that can be there, and negative for 4, 5, 8, and 57. Intestinal T cell lymphoma. So we might not see a case of intestinal T cell lymphoma because most often they come to GI and they are not usually flowed. So, but at least, I mean, we should know what the immunophenotype of intestinal T cell lymphoma is. So intestinal T cell lymphoma is basically either ETL, METL. So ETL is enteropathy associated T cell lymphoma. METL is morphologic epitheliotropic intestinal T cell lymphoma, or else indolent T cell lymphoproliferative disorder of the gastrointestinal tract. So ETL is most common in the Western countries with association with the celiac disease. So ETL, you have to remember celiac disease. And medium to large size cells with mixed inflammatory cells, positive for CD3, CD7, 103, and cytotoxic markers. Negative for CD4 and CD8, and 56 and 5. So this you have to remember, the METL will be gamma delta. So METL is more of gamma delta and CD8 positive, CD56 positive. And so those are the two markers, 8 and 56, that you have to definitely remember in METL, and TIA and CD20 in some cases. So over here, remember that 8 and 56, they are negative in case of ETL. In case of METL, the 8 and 56 is positive. And then negative for CD5 again. And then indolent T cell LPD, again, it has CD8, TIA, CD2, CD5, but it's negative for CD56, CD7, and granzyme B. Again, we are not going to see these cases in flow. Intestinal T cell lymphoma, paniculitis like T cell lymphoma, these cases are not usually flowed, and we won't see these cases. Paniculitis like CD8 positive, cytotoxic markers, TIA, granzyme B, perforin, they are positive. This is more of alpha beta type of lymphoma. Mycosis fungoides. So mycosis fungoides and Sézary syndrome, we have to remember these are CD4 positive lymphomas. So that's one. And they are positive for other T cell markers, so 2, 3, 5. There will be downregulation of CD7 that is frequently seen, and it is more of CD4 positive and CD8 negative. However, in pediatric MF, the cytotoxic CD8 phenotype has been recognized, and CD30 expression is associated with large cell transformation with more than 25% large plastic cells. So for mycosis fungoides, we know that there will be patch, plaque, tumor, or erythrodermic stages, and dense dermal infiltrate in the tumor stage, especially. Epidermotropism in the tumor stage will not be seen. However, it will be seen in the early on stages. And then, so yeah, the name itself is epidermotropic primary cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. So there will be epidermotropism that you have to remember. Important is that cerebriform nuclei. So that's kind of typical of mycosis fungoides. So that's something that you have to remember too. Sézary syndrome. So Sézary syndrome is more of the advanced stages of mycosis fungoides, they say, and then they are that's more of when it goes to the blood. So basically, triad of erythroderma, generalized lymphadenopathy, clonal Sézary cells in the lymph node, blood, skin, and either absolute Sézary cell count of more than 1,000 per microliter, or CD4 is to CD8 ratio of more than 10, or loss of T cell antigens. So of one of the three are required for the diagnosis. So Sézary cell count more than 1,000, CD4 is to CD8 more than 10, and T cell antigen loss. Again, so as I said, this again is CD4, PD1 you have to remember in this one, and negative for CD8, negative for CD7, down regulation of CD7, the same thing that you see in the mycosis fungoides, and CD26 negative, poor prognosis. Hepatosplenic T-cell lymphoma, I have a flow of hepatosplenic, and Brentwood has nice flow of hepatosplenic, but in like our example cases, I'm not sure if we have hepatosplenic case, because again, it goes to more to GI, and then might or might not be flowed. So hepatosplenic is aggressive lymphoma of cytotoxic T cells of gamma delta type, commonly involving liver. So sinusoidal involvement is more to be remembered in case of hepatosplenic. I have in the book, I have nice picture of the sinusoidal involvement. In the spleen, it will be involved, red pulp will be involved. And again, the sinusoidal pattern in the bone marrow, sparing the lymph nodes. Young immunosuppressed individuals associated with isochromosome 7q, positive for CD3, TIA1, granzyme B, variable CD56, CD8, and negative for CD4, CD5, and EBV. So granzyme M is positive, granzyme B is negative, and EBV, CD4, CD5 are negative. This is more of like okay, sorry, there was some background noise. Yeah, so this is more of you'll see in the sinusoidal involvement, and I want to show very bad the picture of this hepatosplenic, but since we are just doing the nutshell right now, let's continue with the nutshell. Primary cutaneous CD30 positive LPD, again, the cutaneous LPDs are not going to be flowed for sure, and we don't see them in flow. We can just skip them. Peripheral T-cell lymphoma, NOS. So this you can see on flow, and they are more of CD4 as compared to CD8. So CD3 T-cell marker, and then CD4 more than CD8. DIM for 5 and 7, loss of 5 and 7 will be seen in peripheral T-cell lymphoma. AITL, so AITL will be more of again a follicular helper type. So that's the precursor of AITL, and that's why we have CD4 again. And then the follicular helper T cell markers, as I said before, CD10, CXCL13, ICOS, BCL6, and PD1. And they will be having other T cell markers, so CD2 and CD3. There will be CD5 as well. It's a poor prognosis. And so for angioimmunoblastic T-cell lymphoma, for the morphology, you should remember that there will be high endothelial venules. So the neoplastic cells are clustered around the high endothelial venules. There will be polymorphous background. So this polymorphous background you have to remember with small lymphocytes, plasma cells, eosinophils, B-cell immunoblasts. All of these will be seen in angioimmunoblastic. There will be expanded FDC meshwork around the high endothelial venules highlighted by CD21. The background B cells, so the background B cells, they are positive for EBV. That's important. And the neoplastic T cells, they will be negative. So the background B cells are EBV positive. And again, as we said, the CD4 is helper phenotype. So CD4 is positive, CD10, CXCL13, ICOS, BCL6, PD1, CD5 can be there, and CD2 and CD3. Coming to follicular T-cell lymphoma, I don't think we have a case of follicular T-cell lymphoma in our the ones that we are going to show. We can the immunophenotype will be similar to AITL in any case, if at all flowed. Anaplastic large cell lymphoma. So anaplastic large cell lymphoma will be more of the markers for anaplastic large cell lymphoma that you have to remember is CD30 and ALK. Those are the two. So it can be ALK positive, as we know, ALCL, and then it can be ALK negative, ALCL. The ALK positive will be ALK positive, and those are most common is translocation 2-5, and that is there. Hallmark cells is the hallmark of ALCL, and again, CD30 positive, ALK positive. At least some T cell antigens, so 2, 4, and 5, and cytotoxic markers, so TI1, granzyme B, perforin, CD25, and CD43. Variable for 45, EMA 3 and 8, better prognosis than ALK negative ALCL. ALK negative, similar everything, just that it is ALK negative. It will also be CD30 positive. The ALK negatives ones, so basically, as we remember, the ALK positive ones, they are 2-5 translocation, NPM ALK. The ALK negative ones, they are more of DUSP22 or TP53 rearranged. DUSP22 will be MUM1 positive, negative for cytotoxic markers and good prognosis. TP53 rearranged are positive for P63 and have poorer prognosis. Breast implant associated large cell lymphoma, so BI, ALCL basically, associated with breast implants, morphologic features similar to ALCL, but it is ALK negative and has excellent prognosis. So that's about quick revision of T cell lymphomas, and we are quickly going to go into the Brentwood chapter. So we are going to do the T cell lymphomas from here, case 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So those are the cases we'll try to finish, if at all possible today. If not, then we'll see.
Thank you so much. That was so beautiful and quick review.
Yeah, I like to review T cell because T cell is not common and you don't see T cell very often. So you kind of tend to forget T cell.
Yes.
So, all right. So LGL. So we already reviewed LGL quickly. Like those was the nutshell. So nutshell is basically like the whole chapter is different. If you see, just a second. So the whole chapters of the book is different. We have in detail, and we can actually go through quickly through the immunophenotype of these cases as well. So the TPLL, the cytoplasmic blebs are very specific for, like, it's not specific, but seen in TPLL, and these will be round to oval cells, irregular nuclei, and there will be nucleoli can be there, visible nucleoli, and non-granular basophilic cytoplasm. Cytoplasmic protrusions, as I was saying, blebs are usually seen. Immunophenotype, so this I wanted to go through. So if you remember, just now we read CD52 and TCL1. Those are the more specific ones. CD52 is more for targeted therapy, and overexpression of TCL1 is used for MRD. So you can see over here, so this is CD7 positive and CD2, CD5 positive. PD1 is negative, so 279 is basically PD1. So PD1 is negative. PD1, why is it important? Because AITL is PD1 positive. AITL, by AITL, I mean angioimmunoblastic T cell lymphoma is PD1 positive. And then it is more of CD4, as we read quickly in the nutshell. So it is more of CD4, CD8 negative, and CD52 and TCL1s are the one that are more specific for T prolymphocytic. So quickly reading 2573, weak membranous staining for CD3. CD2, targeted therapy, overexpression of TCL1 for MRD. And CD4, CD8 positive, CD4 positive, CD8 negative in most of the cases. They will be negative for TDT and CD1A. And some cases, the important thing is CD4, CD8, if you see a case that is CD4, CD8 both positive, then it is exclusive to TPLL, and you should think of TPLL if you see both positive case. And some cases can be CD4 negative, CD8 positive, but it is very few cases. Quickly going to TLGL. So LGL, Again, so this LGL population will be seen in the TLGL. And as I said, the peripheral blood should be more than 6 months involvement and 2 to 20 into 10 power 9. So that's the TLGL definition, though it is seen often, but it is not mandatory for the definition. Neutropenia is one another thing that you have to always remember with TLGL. The symptoms will be because of the neutropenia. That's what you have to remember. Anemia is more common than thrombocytopenia. TLGL count, we saw that associated with autoimmune conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, immune complexes, and so forth. So coming to morphology, it will be quickly, there will be ILGL. So basically there will be these cytotoxic granules that will be present in the cytoplasm. There will be abundant cytoplasm that will be there. And so that's the azurophilic granules. Those are important. Like you'll see those LGLs in the peripheral blood. Immunophenotype. So immunophenotype, we read that it is more of alpha beta, loss of CD5, CD7, CD16, 57. That those are more like seen in LGL. So 57 is the more cytotoxic marker, which will be seen in the LGL. Other cytotoxic markers, TIA1, granzyme B will be seen in the LGL. 56 is negative. So remember that 16 is positive, but 56 is negative, and KIR can be seen in some cases. So again, over here we have a case that is this has some down regulation of CD5, as you see over here. These are the normal T cells, and CD3 is positive. And then this aqua population is also positive for CD8. So that's what we know, that it is CD8 and CD57 positive. So that's again CD57. So CD8 positive, CD57 positive. 16 can be positive, but 56 will be negative. And CD2 is positive, CD7 is downregulated. So CD5 is downregulated, CD7 is downregulated, positive for 57, positive for 8, and then positive for 16 as well. And then the other T cell markers like 2, 3 will be there. So this is a quick brush up of LGL. We'll see a case of LGL in our system. And aggressive NK. So this aggressive NK, this kind of morphology is very important to remember, that it's large, abundant granular cytoplasm, a typical round nucleus with vesicular chromatin, prominent nucleoli, irregular nuclear folds, all of these things. Aggressive NK will have NK type phenotype. We just read now. So it will be CD2, CD3 epsilon, CD16, 56, and 11B. Negative for site surface CD3, so that's not seen in the NK cells, as we know. CD57 is negative, 27, so T cell markers are negative, CD45 will also be not there. So again, over here, we have shown that it is a CD3 negative, CD56 positive population, that is of the NK cell population. This was a case of aggressive NK. So that's that. Coming to ATLL. So ATLL, so as we know that it is endemic with where HTLV infection, we just read in Japan, Caribbean, and Central Africa. And then we, so variants, we can, so there are acute lymphomatous, chronic, and the smoldering variants. We don't need to go into detail for the flow cytometry. Flower cells. So this over here, this picture is nice for a flower cell. This is a typical of ATLL. This might be coming into your exams if at all you're giving exams. This flower cell is very, very characteristic that they like to show in the exams. So that's that. And then, so for the immunophenotype, ATLL, remember that it is CD4 and CD25, CD30. These are the markers that are for ATLL. It will be having T cell markers 2, 3, 5. And the other one is FOXP3 that can be remembered for ATLL as well. We quickly saw in our big chart of immunophenotype that it will be CD25 and FOXP3. So this is something that you have to remember. So CD4, CD25, CD30, and FOXP3. Negative for 7, negative for 8, and negative for ALK. So over here, we have shown over here that a CD25 positive, so basically T cell population, so it's 2 and 3 positive over here. CD25 positive, CD4 positive, and CD8 negative. Downregulation of CD7, so as we saw that negative for CD7 and CD8, that's what we see over here. CD7 and CD8 are downregulated. And basically, there is some degree of like CD5 expression, maybe a little bit downregulation here as well. And again, the NK cell marker CD56 is negative. So basically CD25 you have to remember, it's more of CD4. ATLL, and the other CD25, CD4, and then down regulation of CD7 is something that you have to remember. CD8 will be negative, and then the T cell markers will be there, 2, 3, 5, and if you do in the immunohistochemistry, you will see that CD25, CD30 will be positive. So that's a nice immunohistochemistry as well over here with the down regulation of CD7 and CD4 positive, CD8 negative. Then extranodal NKT, it's more of angiocentric, angiodestructive, more of tissue diagnosis in the nasal type. Again, we don't need to read immunophenotype in this one. I mean, usually they don't perform flow in these cases. So again, intestinal T cell lymphoma, so ETL, METL, as we saw, LPD, so those chronic LPD. So those cases, again, the flow is not usually performed, but something that you have to remember for immunophenotype is that ETL is CD8 negative, 56 negative, and METL is CD8 positive, 56 positive. And this ETL is alpha beta immunophenotype, and the METL is gamma delta. So those are the two important things for the immunophenotype, at least, that you have to remember. So again, I mean, CD58, CD56, so we are the METL, CD58, CD56, that is positive gamma delta type. TIA will be expressed, but the enzyme B and perforin are not expressed. And MAT kinase, wherever present, if it is present like in our institution, it is characteristically positive. So we have a nice METL over here. So you can see over here this. So basically, monomorphic epitheliotropic intestinal T cell lymphoma. So you can see the epitheliotropism in this. It's more of monomorphic T cells, which are epitheliotropic. And then the immunohistochemistry, you quickly see that it is CD8 positive, this one, CD56 positive. There are T cell markers, including 3 and 7. CD5 over here is downregulated. It is gamma delta. So basically, TCR delta is positive, and then TIA1 is positive, CD4 is negative, CD8 is positive. So that's that. ETL, ETL-V, I mean, the same thing, CD8, CD56 negative. There can be downregulation of CD5, and CD4 will also be negative. And then the T cell markers 3 and 7 will be there. 103s, they are saying that it's positive. Cytotoxic markers, TIA, granzyme B, and perforin, all 3 are expressed. So that's that. And panicleitis, like, you're not going to see the flow in our system. It's usually not done because it's a tissue diagnosis. Usually they do not submit for flow, but at all it is CD alpha beta phenotype. Cytotoxic markers are there. CD56 is negative. This is more of CD8. I don't know what BF1 is, and CD123 is not expressed in the tumor cells. Okay. Mycosis fungoides, remembering CD4 is positive, it is more of CD4 positive and CD8 negative lymphoma. It is TCR beta positive, TCR gamma is negative, and CD7 will be downregulated. CD5 will be positive, however, CD7 will be downregulated. So I don't have a immunophenotype for the mycosis fungoides as well. It is more of the cutaneous type, and they don't perform the immunophenotype for this, or the flow for this one. Sézary syndrome, again, this is something that you have to remember. CD4, yes, but also PDL1. So CD279, as I was saying, that's PDL1. So PDL1, CD4, you have to remember in Sézary syndrome. Negative for CD8 and downregulation of CD7. Coming to hepatosplenic, so that's what I was wanting to show you the hepatosplenic that time very badly, because that's, you see the sinusoidal involvement in the liver that is very prominent over here. So this was a beautiful case of hepatosplenic that I had. And then this over here, so immunophenotype, again, hepatosplenic is gamma delta, and CD56 can be positive, CD4, CD8, all, and CD5, all 3 are not expressed. And cytotoxic markers, granzyme M, TIA are expressed, but granzyme B and perforin is not expressed. So the hepatosplenic, one thing that you have to remember is it is TCR gamma delta. So you can see that TCR alpha beta is negative and TCR gamma delta is positive. Negative for CD4, CD8. CD56 can be positive. Here you can see the partial positivity for CD56. There will not be a PD1 or CD279. Downregulation of CD5 that is not expressed. So CD4, CD8 not expressed, CD5 not expressed. CD7 will be there. CD45 over here, and then CD2 and CD3 that are present. So basically, down regulation of CD5, there will be no 4 and 8. It will be TCR gamma delta. That's your hepatosplenic for you. PD1 negative. Oh, I'll send the Zoom link. Someone is saying that they didn't get the Zoom link. Can someone send the Zoom link quickly in the international group? Or do you want me to do it? Let me.
I will do.
Yeah, quickly just we can send the Zoom link. Copy. Okay, I'm doing it. Okay. Yeah. So TLPD CD30 positive, again, we are not going to see a case in our flow. So we can skip it. PTCL. So PTCL, we remember that it is CD4 positive, CD8 negative. There will be downregulation of the other T cell markers. So basically CD5 and CD8, CD7 are downregulated. There can be dual positive cases that can be rarely seen. However, you have to remember CD4 positive most often in case of PTCL. CD8 negative again, but can be expressed in some cases. Cytotoxic markers TIA1, granzyme B, perforin can be expressed, and few cases they are saying express CD25. It will be hard to detect, like to like for ATLL versus CD2, like ATLL is CD25 positive, as we know, FOXP3 positive, but over here they're saying that few cases of PTCL will also be CD25 positive. So again, we have just shown the CD4 positive, CD8 negative. This one was a nice Lennart's lymphoma that we had. The Lennart lymphoma is more of a lymphoepithelioid variant, and this is the lymphoepithelioid variant of PTCL that we had in our system. So I added that case. Angioimmunoblastic T-cell lymphoma. So again, there will be these TFH phenotypes. So basically there will be PD1, CD10, CXCL13, ICOS, BCL6. So CD10, CXCL13, ICOS, BCL6, PD1. T-cell markers including 5, 4, 3, 2. And the FDC meshwork, as I said, that there will be these high endothelial venules. The T cells will be around the high endothelial venules, and the B cells will be EBV positive. And so that's the typical feature, and there will be FDC meshworks that will be very very prominent as well. So that's the typical, and then the cells that are in the background will be more of mixed cells and eosinophils. You'll usually see eosinophils in the case of AITL. So that is the typical of AITL. So then,
Can you zoom it a little bit?
you want to zoom? Okay, just a second. Yeah. So that's the zoom. So you can see that the eosinophils that are sprinkling are actually not even sprinkling. There are a lot of eosinophils in the background over here. And the prominent high endothelial venules, there will be FDC meshworks, and then the T cell lymphomas will be around these high endothelial venules, and the B cells will be EBV positive. Those are the things that you have to remember for AITL. So for AITL, you remember the TFH phenotype, the CD10, CXCL13, ICOS, BCL6, PD1. FDC markers will be CD21, 23, and 35 positive. T cell markers will be there, so 2, 3, 5, and 4. And background B cells will be EBV positive, not the T cells. So over here, we have, so we should look for the PD1. So basically 279 PD1, as I was saying, that it was more of AITL. It is more of the follicular center, or like T follicular helper. So see, we can see over here, it's more of CD4 as compared to CD8. So the other markers, CD5, CD7 are there, 2 and 3 are there. TCR, this alpha is there. So that's that. So this is something PD1 and CD4 positive. These are the two that are going to be seen in the AITL, and more of it is also morphologic diagnosis as well. So I've shown over here PD1 as well in here. What is this? Follicular T-cell lymphoma. I mean, I'm not thinking that we have a case of follicular T-cell. This we could have gone if we were doing the theory, but we are not doing the theory that much. We are just quickly brushing our knowledge of the T cells. And so for the ALCL, ALK positive, So the hallmark cells you can see over here, this is a nice hallmark cell that you can see, a U-shaped cell that is a hallmark cell. So the hallmark cells are typical of ALCL. So this one is ALK positive. So basically ALK will be both cytoplasmic and nuclear. And this is important where we have shown the 2,5, the translocation of 2,5. That's the one that will be, that's the one that will be having both cytoplasmic and nuclear. That is more often associated the ALK staining. That's something that they ask in the exams too. And then for immunohistochemistry, for the immunophenotype, it is more of CD4 again, and there can be CD25 in here as well. TI is granzyme B, perforin. ALK is most important. CD30 is very important, most important. Cell membrane and Golgi region. So that's that. And so then we have this ALK positive ALCL case where we are showing the ALK positivity, CD30 positivity, MIP1, which is high. And that's that EMA that is positive as well. And then we have this on the right-hand side. On the right-hand side, we have this ALK positive ALCL. So you can see very high CD30 that you can see over here, brightly expressed. I mean, it's kind of variable, but it's still very bright over here. And PD1 is negative, so it's not AITL. The PD1 is more of AITL, if you remember. And this one is also CD4 as compared to CD8. So CD4 positive, CD8 negative. CD2 that is positive, CD5, CD7, kind of a little bit downregulated than the normal T cells. And then the TI1 granzyme B that is there. So basically CD30 that you have to remember, ALK1 that you have to remember for the ALCL, ALK positive. And for the ALK negative, everything is same. However, the DUSP22 and donut cells, that's what you have to remember, the donut cells. You can see over here some of the donut cells looks more like more, I had, in this case, I had this kind of donut cells, which was nice. I couldn't take that beautiful pictures, but I mean, this is the best I could do. So yes, the donut cells, they are seen in the DUSP22 IRF4 gene rearrangement. So that's the donut cells that can be seen. And again, it is diffuse CD30 because it's ALCL, so strong in diffuse CD30, cell membrane and Golgi region. And then there it will be ALK negative, CD2, CD3, 43, 4 positive. Again, this is a 4 positive one, 8 negative one. And then the cytotoxic granules, that is the TIA granzyme B in perforin will be positive. And in DUSP22 cases, the cytotoxic enzymes are negative. And some cases are EMA positive, as we saw in the ALK positive as well. So we see over here CD30 positive, very nice. You can see nuclear and cytoplasmic staining in this case. And Golgi and cytoplasmic, not the nuclear. And then breast implant associated, again, this is more of a tissue diagnosis. They do submit sometimes, but you'll not see flow in most of these cases. This is more of tissue diagnosis, and the CD30, those large B cells, those large T cells and aplastic T cells that you will see. And then hallmark cells can be seen as well. And then the CD30 that will be nailing the diagnosis over here, that's the breast implant associated ALCL for you. So that's kind of a quick, fast train of T cell that we went through. I hope it was not too fast. It was necessary before we go into T cell, because otherwise we'll be lost in the T cell flows. B cell flows we often see, it's easy, but the T cell flow, it's not often seen, and we have to know the immunophenotype before we go into the cases. So far,
Yeah, it is very good review before exams. Quick review. That was so nice. 1 hour, not even 1 hour, 40 minutes you have completed T cell, all T cell.
Yeah, for some people it would be like they will be, everything will be khichdi in their mind, if
No,
they
will know the value of this class when they are going to the exam, especially.
Yes,
So-
definitely. I mean, if they have read T cell before, it will be nice revision. If they haven't read, or they are just starting with the T cell, or they are just starting with hematopathology per se, they will be all lost and they might have already gone. So anyways, so now coming to the T cell cases, I think there is only 10 minutes left. Maybe we'll be able to do these two, the TLGL and ATLL, and then the rest we can do tomorrow. So, all right, TLGL. So again, as if you remember, the LGL I have gone through 2 times now. The LGL will be having those cytotoxic granules, will be having those abundant cytoplasms, will be the 2 to 20 per microliter. That's the count of the LGL that should be there. And then more than 6 months. And then neutropenia, those are the things that you have to remember in TLGL. So now here the patient is coming with 3 months of weakness, recurrent skin infections, and CBC, WBC of 4,000, absolute neutrophil count, which is low. And because of the absolute neutrophil count, the patient will be having some kind of symptoms, that is kind of weakness, recurrent skin infections, that cellulitis that he is presenting with. And then the flow cytometry. So the flow cytometry, TLGL. So LGL, if you remember, the CD57, that's what you should remember in the LGL. Again, we said that it will be 16 positive and 56 negative. If you remember, we just read that. So again, so it is 56 negative, as you see over here. It's a T cell. So basically it is having the similar expression of T cells as compared to the normal T cells. So CD3 is there. Down regulation of 5, as if you remember, and then there is still CD7 that is present. So down regulation of 5, and this is more of CD8 type, not CD4. So it's CD8 positive, CD4 negative. So CD57, CD8, down regulation of 5, CD56 negative, 16 positive, 7 positive, all those are LGL phenotype. So we don't need to read this, but I mean, and then
I think 7 is also negative, right, Akanksha?
like a 7 is partially negative, but in the books they say that the 7 will be positive and 5 will be down regulated. So that's, I
Okay.
mean, 7 is also, I agree with that. The 7 there is a subset that is 7 negative over here. So that's correct. And then TLGL is indolent lymphoproliferative disorders of the adults. I'm reading over here. TLGL is indolent from lymphoproliferative disorders of the adult, median age 55. LGL leukemia is associated with cytopenias, most notably neutropenia, which may be severe and resulting in recurrent infections. There is also an association of autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis. This is the 3rd time that we are reading. I hope that this goes into your long-term memory now. In the majority of the cases, LGL leukemia is characterized by more than 6 months, expansion of CD8 alpha beta. CD8 positive alpha beta cells. And however, occasional CD4 positive cases have been described. Occasional cases can express gamma delta T cell receptor. Also discussed below is chronic NK cell lymphocytosis, which has overlapping clinical morphological features that can be seen by flow cytometry. TLGL leukemia is a lymphoproliferative disorder composed of expansion of cytotoxic T cells, expressing the T cell markers 2 and 3. CD5 is decreased to absent in most of the cases. Again, they are saying CD4, 7 is low to absent in major subset of the cases. So you were right. CD7, low to absent in major subset of the cases. CD57, expressed in majority of the cases. 16 is often positive. 56 is reported in minor subset, so usually negative. And vast majority of the cases, more than 80%, they are alpha beta type, and allowing the demonstration of clonality. And then, so very less subset of the cases can be gamma delta, but you have to remember alpha beta for the TLGLs for that matter. And interestingly, many cases show a preferential expression for KIR receptors as well. That's why they were coming to chronic LK lymphocytosis, because KIR receptors are here as present as well. Important to note that LGL may be increased in number in reactive conditions. That's very important, that LGL will be there in the reactive conditions, both infectious and inflammatory. And that immunophenotype of the reactive LGL shows significant overlap with that of LGL leukemia. Furthermore, reactive LGL proliferations may be associated with T cell clone. Therefore, a diagnosis of LGL leukemia cannot be established solely demonstrating the characteristic population by flow cytometry. There has to be clinical, morphologic, and immunophenotypic data. Occasionally, LGL lymphocytosis may consist of CD4 T cells. So we know that LGL is more of CD8. Occasionally, they are saying there can be CD4 T cells, and proliferation, however, will show expression again of CD56, CD57, low CD7, and variable expression or low expression of CD8. So basically, all of these features are going to help you when it is a CD4 positive T cell. In contrast to the typical LGL leukemia, patients with CD4 TLGL lack the cytopenias and do not show association with autoimmune disorders. These patients do not appear to have clinical manifestations directly related to CD4 positive LGL population, but do interestingly have relatively high incidence of coexistence of a neoplasm. So they will have a background neoplasm with hematologic or solid tumors that will be present in these cases. Although such proliferations are typically clonal, it is not entirely clear that these lymphoid proliferations represent a neoplasm as compared to the clonal reactive population. In fact, recent studies suggest that CD4 positive TLGL population may represent inflammatory response with cytomegalovirus that has been implicated. So now they are showing a CD4, CD8 positive LGL lymphoproliferation. So this aqua population that you see over here, so this the green and blue is more of the normal T cells. So over here you can see green a little bit over here, CD4 red that is over here. But this aqua population is more of CD4, CD8 positive T cells, and that's the point of this whole thing. That so again, why they are LGLs? Because they are CD57 positive, CD56 positive, CD16 is negative, and CD7 is downregulated, CD2 is there. So all of these features make it LGL. There are T cell markers 3 and 5. However, in this particular case, this was more of CD4, CD8 double positive, and that's what they have shown over here. All right, so LGL composed, the large granular lymphocytic leukemia composed of gamma delta has been described. These lymphoid proliferation has similar clinical course as alpha beta. Important consideration in differential diagnosis is hepatosplenic. So we know that gamma delta, we just read that the hepatosplenic is more of gamma delta. So it will be important consideration in case of LGLs, and associated with much more aggressive clinical course. And in contrast to hepatosplenic T cell lymphoma, which is CD57 negative, gamma delta, the LGL will express CD57 in the majority of the cases. And chronic NK cell lymphocytosis should be considered when encountering the proliferation of large granular lymphocytes by morphology. Chronic NK lymphocytosis can be differentiated from TLGL as the former lack the expression of surface CD3. So NK cells will not have surface CD3, it will have the cytoplasmic CD3 epsilon chain. So that's something that you have to remember. Will lack alpha beta. So it will not be TCR alpha beta or gamma delta, the NK cells of course, and then lack the clonal T cell receptor gene rearrangement as well. The cell of interest typically will be 16 and 56 both positive. So over here we know that the over here we know that the 16 was negative, 56 was positive. So this one is 16, 56 both negative, both positive. 57 will be absent or very low. And then the KIR receptors will be there. So that's the NK type. And the clinical course is typically indolent with cytopenia similar to or somewhat less severe than that of the TLGL. When considering this diagnosis, it is critical to definitively exclude aggressive NK leukemia, although the flow cytometric immunophenotype may be similar, and the later is EBV positive. So aggressive NK, we just read that it is EBV positive is something that you have to remember with the aggressive NK. So that's that. And has aggressive NK has a fulminant flows for differentiation between the two. So that's
Akanksha, I have a doubt in the flow pictures of LGL. So in the second row, the CD56, they have shown positive.
just a second. I can't seem to find it. What happened here? What happened here? So that was a case of double positive. If you remember, this was a case of double positive, yeah?
Okay.
So that has
the neoplastic clone is in the aqua color only, right?
so this one, the normal LGL was CD56 negative, and CD16 will be positive in the neoplastic cells. The normal LGL. However, this case was a different case that was a double positive 4 and 8, and this one was 56 positive.
Okay. That's what I'm saying here. They have given 56 positive
Yeah.
and okay, only that one I got.
Yeah,
Mm.
co-expression of 57 and 56. That's what they are showing, and co-expression of 4 and 8.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, quickly going. Actually, it is already 10:30 here, and I have a lot of cases to finish. So let's just end over here. Very high yield session. You have to go through the session again if you really do not have, like, if you are not good at T cell leukemia lymphomas. We'll be going through these cases, ATLL to ALCL, and PTCL till in the next session. And then we are going to go dive into the flows. So that will make more sense for us when we are doing the flows. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about the express train.
It will be definitely useful, Akanksha. The day before the exam, it will definitely be useful.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You should definitely read the like quickly go through this this tape of mine when you are giving your exam. T-cell will be done like this.
Yes.
So all right
Okay.
then.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
See-
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.